Welcome to the Skill Stadium Podcast, episode 95. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Keith Williams. Every week, we feature professionals in the skilled trades, business owners, educators, career coaches, educators, people giving real-world advice. I have 3 requests for you folks listening to the podcast. Please subscribe to the podcast, leave a 5-star rating, and write a review. Share one thing you enjoyed or something you learned on the podcast. Your support means the world to me, and I really appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. My guest today is the CEO of D&M Electrical Contracting, a full-service union electrical contracting firm serving the lower Hudson Valley and greater New York metropolitan area. His company has been in business since 1993. That's almost 30 years. And an interesting fact about my guest is since 2009, he races cars in the Pirelli Trans Am Series. Please welcome Doug Winston to the Skill Stadium Podcast. Doug, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Keith. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Excellent. My pleasure. Thank you for coming on. Doug, I've got to ask you this. How did you get into car racing? Is this something you've always wanted to do? Is it just...
I was always a car guy. I mean, I started out when I was young, really wasn't into cars so much. I was into car stereos. And in high school, I put in all the stereos in my friends' cars. So a friend of mine was building a 1968 Cougar, and he said to me, I need you to wire my stereo. So I came over to his house, and I started putting the stereo in, and I started checking out what he was doing. And like, what's going on over there? He said, well, we're building an engine. So I got curious. I started looking at it, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is kind of cool. I want to learn about this. And I became a car guy. And then, what do you do with cars? You race them. So, I mean, that when I was younger, we used to drag race Englishtown, New Jersey, Old Bridge Township, Raceway Park, which I don't believe is even there anymore. But did a lot of drag racing as a kid, and then went into business for myself, stopped playing with cars for a pretty long time. Had a family, had a daughter, built a house, and built a business. Probably around 2005 or 2006 or so, a buddy of mine bought a car that came with a free day at Skip Barber's racing school, and I went along with him and drove a car out on Watkins Glen Raceway up in upstate New York in the Finger Lakes, and I got hooked. And next thing was, I want to do more of this. So I started out doing track days. Track days turned into, I think I'd like to go racing wheel to wheel. And started racing at the amateur level, did that for quite a few years. And then 2019, my teammate who I race with told me, well, I'm not going to race with you next season. I'm going to be doing the Trans Am Series. I said, oh, that's a pro series. Wow. I said, I wonder if I could do that. And you know what? I don't want to go sell my race car and find out I'm terrible. I'm not competitive. So I rented a car with a really good team, and I said to myself, well, if I can finish somewhere in the middle, somewhere mid-pack, I'm gonna buy a car and I'm gonna start racing professionally. Well, I finished 16th out of 30 cars. I said, close enough. Bought a car, and that's been ever since. That's what we've been doing. So it's been a fun ride.
Excellent. You know what? What's amazing, I think, is the business. I don't know if you'd agree with me on this, but the business empowers you, gives you the ability to do some of the things that you enjoy, like car racing.
Absolutely. I mean, if I wasn't a business owner, obviously I wouldn't have the means and methods to be able to afford to race cars. I mean, it's not, my wife reminds me all the time, it's not a cheap hobby. But I've actually, look, I'm a businessman, and I've turned it into a business. So, the next 2 weeks, I'm not racing in the car, but the car's being rented. I have a young pro driver who will be racing, doing the West Coast Tour out on Sonoma and Laguna Seca out in California. And, we'll be getting some rental income. So we run it like a business, and, it's the way we approach things. If you take your passion and run a business with your passion, you're going to do okay. So
definitely,
that's kind of where my life revolves around, is following your passion.
I agree with you 100%. When you first started in your profession, what was it like? What did you struggle with And did you have someone who mentored or helped you? Because we want to give young folks a perspective that where you are now didn't just come easy. I mean, there was a process for you to get to where you
Yeah,
are.
no, I mean, it certainly was. So, if I take you back to go back to the very beginnings, I didn't know what I wanted to do for a living. And, all my mother kept telling me was, you're going to be the first person in our family to go to college. I said, oh, okay, whatever, didn't know what I would do. I didn't have a clue. And I kind of got pushed towards going to community college because we didn't have a lot of money. We weren't, growing up. Came from a middle class household. I worked probably since I was 14 years old, and it's okay with that. I liked working. I liked having my own money, but certainly wasn't going to any Ivy League schools. Wasn't getting any scholarships. I wasn't really interested in anything that I knew about. So before I could graduate, I had to visit the guidance counselor, and she looked at me and she said, Westchester Community College for Electrical Engineering Technology. Like, what kind of a BS course is that? And I was like, she was a nun. I went to Catholic school. She said, sister, I'm just, I don't know. She said, why don't you take an engineering? I said, I don't want to be an engineer. Why not? I hate math. I don't want to sit behind a desk and do math for the rest of my life. Well, you be a field engineer. I'm like, I just don't have any desire to be an engineer. It's not what I'm about. What do you like to do? Well, I like to do electrical stuff. I like to work on cars. I like to work on the electrical systems of cars. It's kind of, I like to build things. That's what I like to do. She wants to become an electrician. So, I don't know. I don't want a blue collar job. Goes, why? What's wrong with a blue collar job? I don't know. Everybody says you don't want a blue collar job. She goes, don't you have any relatives that are electricians? I said, yeah, my cousin Al's an electrician. Owns his own business. She goes, good. You're going to go home, you're going to call him, and you're going to ask him if you could work for him this summer. I said, yes, sister. You didn't say no to the nun, right? Okay. Go. We call my cousin. Says, listen, come meet me Sunday night. Meet me in my new house. Oh, the one in Tuckahoe. No, my new house, the one in Scarsdale. Oh, you built another house? Yeah. Here's the address. Okay. Guy's 32 years old, just built the second house. I get there, I look around, I'm like looking at this beautiful house. So what do you think? I said, it's really nice. He says, I got no mortgage. You have no mortgage? How'd you manage that? He says, I sold the house in Tuckahoe and bought the lot for cash that I had. And then I subdivided it, knocked down the house that was in the middle. I sold off one lot. Now I got no mortgage. Wow. So I'm interested. I want to hear. All right, well, talk to me about what an electrician does. He started detailing our, normal day's work. I got really excited, and I decided that night. I left there, and I go, I know what I want to do. I want to be an electrical contractor. So, it was always my plan. The idea of being an entrepreneur and being able to, pretty much make my own way, doing something I liked that really appealed to me. So cousin Al was my mentor, and he likes to joke around, tell people he taught me everything he knows. And I said, no, you taught me everything you know. You didn't teach me everything I know. But yeah, no, he was definitely my mentor. Taught me the very basics of the trade. And then as I progressed and got to other levels, when I went in and opened my own business, I had another mentor, and that was my sister's boss. She worked for a fencing company, and Phil was a contractor, old school contractor from the Bronx. And he took a liking to me, and he said, come to my office tomorrow. I'm going to show you some stuff. Phil was my mentor on the business side. He said, here, this is how you get your foot in the door. You send an interest to bid letter. You send this out to contractors, and you let them know you want to bid on this project, and and you let me know who they are. I'll talk to them if I know them. I'll tell them to give you a shot. Nice. That didn't really help much anyway. But I kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and everything that people told me I couldn't do, I had to do. I wanted to do commercial work. I wanted to do public work. Well, you need a bond for that. Okay, let's get a bond. Not so fast, kiddo. I see guys like you all the time trying to get a bond. They waste a lot of money. just go back to wiring houses. And that just aggravated me. So I found the guy that gave me a line of credit for bonding of $50,000. I did a couple of small municipal jobs, worked my way up. And then after about 2 or 3 years, I came to him and I said, here, I want to bid this big street lighting job here in White Plains. And he said, all right. We talked to the bonding company. They let me do it. And we went from there. And it was probably about a $750,000 job, which was by far the largest job we ever did.
What did it take to get to that level? Because it seems like the relationships mattered because you had to do these small jobs first.
Yeah, I mean, look, you have to walk before you run. You got to crawl before you walk. And, the first steps were becoming a master at the trade. The first thing my cousin told me that Sunday night was it takes 7 years to learn the trade before they'll let you take a master electrician's license test. So, I kind of like laid it out in my head and said, okay, so let's see, I'm only 17 now. 24. So I want to get my electrical contractor's license by the time I'm 25. I want to build a house by the time I'm 30. And I just laid out all these goals for myself. And, look, I ended up, as much as I said I hated math and didn't want to be an engineer, I realized I had a book that had a ton of calculations I had to learn. And at that point, well, now it's relative. It's relative content matter. Now I was interested and I was going to be engaged in it. And, I kind of remembered some of the algebra I did in school that I hated so much. So, and again, it's like I always tell people, you can't teach people something they have no interest in.
That's true.
But once you find something you're passionate about, now it's relative and you want to learn more about it.
Yeah, I think that made a big difference once you connected the dots with the math being necessary for the work that you want to do and accomplish your goals. Suddenly the math became pretty interesting.
And you have to learn. I mean, look, like I remember thinking, I said, wow, I'm a master electrician now. And then I said, now I feel like I'm an apprentice contractor. I got to start all over again. I'm starting at the bottom. And, you had to learn about things. Estimating. What's the big secret to estimating? At the end of the day, you got to count up every nut and bolt you need, figure out how much they cost and how long it's going to take to install them. There's no shortcuts. There's no easy ways. And, back then, we didn't have computers. I mean, I went in business in 1993. I got my first computerized estimating system in 1996. It was DOS based.
Oh yeah.
So it came on a floppy disk and it was DOS based.
I remember that.
So I mean, we're talking old school stuff.
I'm very familiar with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I look at some things that you get in life, and it probably wouldn't be possible had you not pursued the careers. Like I look at what you're doing. Can you talk about the importance of how doing your own business has changed your life if you had not taken this journey? Because, you started off as a contractor and then you decided to move to the entrepreneurial path. Can you talk about how that's changed your life and some of the benefits of being your own boss and being a business owner?
Well, look, the idea of being an entrepreneur and the idea of writing my own ticket appealed to me. And, as a young guy, I envisioned success was going to be having a business similar to my cousins. Hey, I'm going to have 5 guys work for me and we're going to do about this amount of work and I'll have a good life and I'll live well. And then I guess I tell people one of the things I credit with, what do you credit to your success? I say, get bored easy, right? So you create this thing and all of a sudden you look, you go, okay, now what do I do? Well, I did that. I mastered it. I'm bored. I got to find something new.
Sure.
So for me, it was always about a new challenge. It was probably not so much the monetary aspect of it. I didn't say I have to do this so I can make X amount of dollars so I can do that. It didn't work that way. When I was a young guy, I always looked for those emerging markets and new different things to do. When I first went in business, we had a very simple little niche that we did. You had the little bus shelters that people wait in when they're going to the bus, and they have ads in them and they're illuminated. Mm-hmm. Well, they need somebody to bring electricity to them, somebody to take them up, put them down, move them when they're going to do a road project. So we did that, and then we also did explosion-proof wiring for gas stations, which was again a niche market. And it was like, I don't want to do the same thing everybody else does. So the nice part about that is when you don't do the same thing everybody else does, you don't have to compete on the basis of price so much.
Yes.
So, you know, when you find your niche and you become good at that niche, you then have an opportunity for growth, and you also don't have to, again, get your brains beat in by, you know, working cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, which is what I found everybody else, I'm not going to say age, but at my level, was doing, because I was always the youngest guy. Wherever I was always the youngest guy doing it. And I looked at them and I just said, I don't want to be doing that. So we did a lot of explosion proof work for years. And then in 1999, the federal mandate to get all of the gas tanks out of the ground for the gas stations was going to be expired. So every gas station was going to have that work done. And the company we were working for, I kind of said, what are we going to do now? All the gas station work's drying up, because we got a new market, real good stuff, building cell phone towers. And immediately, like, yeah, this is cool. We got to do this. So we started building cell phone towers, working, and all we did was the wiring for the towers. We didn't actually put the towers up or the foundations for the towers, but we were doing the electrical work. And most of these cell phone towers were on the top of mountains. So you needed to run a mile of electricity to get up there. So that had to be either on poles or underground. And we would subcontract that out to some guys that, you know, worked for the utility during the day, and they did that work at night. So one of my foremen looks at me one day and he goes, you know, we're giving away the lion's share of the work. Why aren't we doing this? I go, you know how to do it? Well, our union's got classes. I'll go, you know, I'll go take classes at night. So, well, you get a couple of the other guys and you go do that. Go get certified to do this kind of work, and I'll make the investment and buy the equipment. And they did. They kept their end of the deal. I kept my end of the deal. And then all of a sudden we were doing everything, the high voltage and the low voltage. We were putting telephone poles in, running high voltage cables. And little by little, you know, the cell phone market, you know, eventually after so many years started to dry up, because, okay, well, they built all the cell phone towers they needed. It was, you know, rolling out that big initial push back in the late 90s. And we realized that, well, you know, the high voltage market is a pretty good market. So we started doing everybody else's high voltage work. So we had most of my best clients are my competitors. So we'll maybe compete for the same overall big job. If we don't get the whole job, we know we're going to get the high voltage portion. At least we're going to get our niche market work. So, you know, it leads you also to have a unique relationship where your competitors are also your customers and they're your friends.
Yeah.
And, you know, and for me, it's been great because, you know, I take the opinion that, look, we all need each other here and we're going to be friends. And I have a lot of friends in this industry, and, you know they can call me up for anything and vice versa. So, you know, I don't really look at my competitors as my competitors. I look at them as my, you know, customers. So it's that kind of back and forth relationship where, you know, hey, you'll do this for me, I'll do that for you. You know, and there's things we don't do. We don't, you know, we'll run fiber optic, but we don't splice it or test it. It's just something we never got into. We subcontract that out to, you know, one of our guys that we do high voltage work for. So, you know, within a trade, there are tons of niches, and that's what I always try to emphasize. But, you know, yes, it's definitely afforded me a great lifestyle, but I think it's more been about the challenge than the necessity to make more and more and more and more. It's just, you know, the benefit that comes with making a successful business is you have the ability to make money with that, and it's good. And you know, look, I enjoy a good life. I put my daughter through school to do what she wants to do. She had no interest in being in my business. I exposed her to it, never pushed her into it, never even suggested she should be in it. You know, her passion was healthcare. And if she was either going to be a doctor or a nurse practitioner, and that's where she went. And I was more than happy. She worked here for a couple of summers, and she said, the best thing I ever did was work for you, because I knew I wanted nothing to do with your business.
That's so important. So important for young people to taste different things, because
absolutely,
they've got to figure out what they enjoy. Also, one of the things that, you know, listening to you that I think that has allowed you to be successful is that your people put an emphasis on learning. because they said,
Yeah.
hey, when that other
Yep.
organization that you were subbing out was doing the work, they said, hey, we'll go to school and we'll learn that. And
Right.
that, I think, it says you've got some quality people, because everybody doesn't do that,
We do.
and I think it starts with you being somebody who said, we're going to get in niche markets. And that is always a smart business strategy, because you're not competing on price. Competing on price is a race to the bottom, as we all know. So,
Absolutely.
so,
Absolutely. Without a doubt.
and I've heard a
Without
lot of people in your industry and in the skilled trades, people who are just getting started, like, we were so anxious to get the business, we just took it at any price, and we ended up losing money because we
Yep.
didn't understand the math of what we were getting into.
We all did that. Look, we all did that at some point, and you learn very quickly that that's not a business model. It's not a sustainable business model.
No.
And look, you know what? There were jobs that I had to do because I said I want to do this, and it's my goal, and I'm going to do it. Listen, I remember saying, somebody said to me, "Well, you hit all your goals. Now, what do you want to do?" I want to build a power plant. So, we did a power plant job the first time, and we got killed. We lost a ton of money. And lucky, thank God, I had the money to lose.
Yes.
And then somebody said, "Well, I guess we're never going to do another power plant job again." I said, "Hell no! Now we paid for the education. Of course we are."
Yes.
Next thing you know, we're working in nuclear power plants. So, I never had a fear, but by the same token, I was never reckless. So,
Sure.
I mean, it's a fine line you got to dance.
Sure.
You have to be able to know what your resources are and your limitations. Very important.
Yeah. How did you get involved with Bring Back the Trades? I know you're a huge advocate of them. You have them on your car.
Yeah.
How'd you get involved with them? And can you
Well,
share can you share who they are and what they are doing?
yeah. So Bring Back the Trades is a organization. They're a nonprofit organization based in New Hampshire, run by a gentleman named Steve Turner. And I happened to see some of Steve's stuff online, and I said, "Bring Back the Trades, wow!" And it just, read some of his stuff, and I go, I gotta meet this guy, and I need to help him with it any way I could. And the first thing I envisioned was, when I saw Bring Back the Trades, was, we're gonna slap this organization's logo on the hood of our race car next year, and we're gonna help them raise money, and we're gonna help them raise awareness. And you know what? This is I'm always looking for opportunities to give back. And for me, giving back to the skilled trades community is very important, because when I started, I kind of left a little part of my story out. And that was when I decided I was going to be an electrical contractor and I wasn't going to go to community college. I had to go ask for my money back from the professor, who was the dean of engineering. And I sat in his office for a better part of an hour, and he berated me the whole time, telling me that I was what was wrong with America. I was taking the easy way out, that I was lazy. I needed somebody like him to kick my ass, and that's what it was going to take, and he would do it, and just all this rah stuff. And I explained to him, I said, "I don't think you're listening to me." I said, I want to be an electrical contractor. I've got a plan. I know what I want to do. And he said, "Boy, you just want to be a wire jerk. That's all you're ever going to be. And someday when you're 50 years old and Mother Nature's been kicking your ass for 25 years outside in the elements, you're going to think of me and you're going to regret this decision." And I said, "Okay, whatever." And he said, "Now, what do you say?" I said, "I want my money back." Never thought about him again until I did my first public work job in that college. I saw him walking down the hallway, coming the other way. And the only thing I remember, I was going to walk up and say something to him, and then I realized it's not worth it, because, this he's never going to change. Mm-hmm. But the only thing I remember is he was wearing that same suit he was wearing the day he ripped into me. And
wow.
It was like, real success story, huh, pal?
Yeah.
After that point, it became even more important to me to get the message out that we are doing kids a huge disservice by giving this college for all mentality, forcing people to, tell them that, oh, you need college for an entry-level job. And I'm watching these kids come out of college. And trust me, we hire kids out of college here. We have, an office staff here where we hire kids that are engineering. We used to have engineering. We used to have an intern program with an engineering school. And, you talk to these kids. Do you know what an engineer does? No. Do you know what an electrician does? No. Why are you going to school for engineering? My teacher said I had good grades in math and science, so I should be an engineer. And I'm like, what do you want to do? I don't know. It's just like so unprepared for the workforce when they come out. It was really, really sad. And I said, maybe if we expose these kids to careers instead of ideological concepts, maybe we would get them interested or at least help them find their way. And look, I don't have a problem with anybody going to college as long as they have a plan.
I agree.
But I just don't see a lot of plans out there. Right? The plan is go to college. You'll figure it out in college. Well, you're going to incur a lot of debt. You're going to come out unprepared for really any career unless you've gone for a professional pursuit. And I say doctor, lawyer, engineer, nurse, whatever that be. But to tell me that you spent 4 years in college and you have a degree in history, okay, now what are you going to do? I don't know. At least in the skilled trades, you look and you say, I like to work with my hands. I like to build things. I can see me doing that. And that's great if you can do that. The other thing that we really don't, one of the big disservices we've done to the trades itself is that guidance counselors have told kids that, well, you're too stupid to get into college. Maybe you should be a plumber. That kind of mentality. You should maybe look into that kind of thing. So what's happened is, we've gotten kids in the trades and they're good with their hands. What we're losing is the bright kids that used to come and say, they would become a foreman, they would become a superintendent, they would become a guy that we look and say, he's got a lot of good experience. Let's bring him in the office, make an estimator out of him, become a project manager, maybe a project executive. We're not seeing that pipeline anymore in the trades.
How do we get the schools and the parents to kind of understand to change that mindset? And I know it's hard.
I don't know if we're going to get the schools, and I don't count on getting the schools. What we need to get is the parents. We need to get the kids.
Yes, I agree.
So if we reach out to the parents and say to the parents, listen, there's a pathway for your kid. Don't be discouraged because your child does not want to go to college. If your kid says, Dad, I want to be a carpenter, well, that's great. Maybe encourage him to say, well, okay, maybe you'll own your own business one day. Or maybe you won't. That's fine too. There is nothing wrong with being a tradesman and making a good day's pay and an honest living. You'll probably have less health problems than someone that sits behind a desk all day drinking caffeine, staring at a screen.
Yeah.
Trust me, if I had the opportunity to go out and work with the tools every day still, I would do it. I would love to do that.
The trades are also becoming more automated too. I remember I went to trade school for automotive, and it was sponsored by Mercedes. And these young people were coding. They were doing. If you looked at the shop was clean. It was a lot of computers. These guys were sharp. Yeah. And they were getting paid well. This is a local school, and Mercedes actually has funded the program. They have their cars in the school, so they're working on the exact cars they're going to be doing when they do the job. So
absolutely,
I don't know how better prepared you can be if you're working on the actual car that you're going to do when you do the job.
Correct.
They had a 19-year-old. I remember they were sharing with me this. I couldn't believe this, blew my mind. He was getting his salary out of the program was $89K.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, our electricians are making about $53 an hour.
Wow.
Our linemen are making, I think, a little bit more, about $56 an hour. And that's their base wage. Then they're getting benefits on top of that. They're getting 401k, pension, health, dental, life insurance, annuities, paid holidays, you name it, health reimbursement accounts. I mean, there are, these are good, solid careers that are paying good salaries and are offering benefits and a lot of good fringe benefits for a successful retirement, And again, as I say to you, you don't have to listen to the rhetoric that, oh, it's a dead end job. You'll be an electrician all your life. No, again, you could be a business owner, you could be a project manager, you could be an estimator. There are so many places you can go within the skilled trades once you have that basic foundation, because again, nobody's going to take that from you. If you have that ability, nobody wants to see your degree. Nobody comes into my office here and says, "Here's a copy of my degree."
Yeah.
No. You tell me about what you're doing. Who'd you work for? I know everybody. Tell me who they are. Tell me what you've been doing with them.
Yep.
Tell me why you're not happy there.
Yeah.
Let's try to figure it out.
Yeah.
But
it's all about the fit. So tell me something. For a high school student with no experience, I think this is important. What is some advice you'd share to help them learn about your profession? Is there an opportunity for them maybe to come in and shadow? Some companies do. I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to. I'm just curious. What would you advise to them? Would you advise them maybe talking to you, or what would you advise?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different avenues they can look at. And one of the most important things, so apprenticeships obviously are going to be one of the most appealing aspects, because you're going to get paid to go to school. Well,
Yes.
if somebody is going to pay for you to go to school, you're going to get paid to go to work during the day. And you're going to be invested in a program where you're indentured. It's usually a state-run program with oversight, so that it's going to be structured. And when you're done, you're going to graduate and be a journey person. But more importantly, if you can't get into an apprenticeship, not everybody's going to get into an apprenticeship, because we test them. They do both a written test, and they also do an interview, and there's a skills portion of it where we just look at dexterity and things of that nature. But long story short, there's a lot of opportunities. So I will sit and interview apprentices when they come in on a regular basis, and I've been doing that for probably about 15 years. So one of the things we like to see on a kid's resume is that I went to, so in New York State here we have BOCES. BOCES is a adult education program, so you can go, and again, you don't have to be adult. You could be in high school and you want to go at night and take a class. You can take basic electricity, and they'll have electricity too. Well, when a kid comes for an apprenticeship program and we see that he's taken a class like that, it shows that he wants to do this. He shows some interest. He took electricity 1 and he took electricity 2, and he got a good grade. Okay, that's great. We had a kid a couple of months ago who came and said, I really want to be in the trades. I didn't know where to start. I got a job at Home Depot. Okay, you're working every day. You're trying to get in that environment. We used to get kids that would come work for us, and we called them a shop boy. They would be a driver, and they would take material and tools to the job site. And, they would apply to the apprentice program, and, they'd come in for an interview. And so I say, what are you doing with yourself right now? Oh, well, I'm D&M shop boy. Everybody looks. Okay, this kid's willing to pay his dues. He's learning the material. He's learning the tools. These are the people we want. So, you show a little ambition and people are going to give you an opportunity. So that's the best way to get into those. Now, obviously, trade school is another great way to go to get yourself in and get some experience. It's obviously going to be more expensive. Now, you're paying to go there. But for somebody who says, look, I don't know whether I want to just say I'm going to go to college, aimlessly take student loans, and I don't know what I want to do, but I'm going to go to college to find out. I don't know. If you have any feeling that you might want to work with your hands, work in the skilled trades, well, look into trade schools. Go check them out. Go see their programs. And again, automotive. Here's another facet of the skilled trades, right? So we're talking about, I'm an electrical contractor. Well, I'm also a line contractor, meaning we have linemen. Those are the guys that work up in bucket trucks that, we do on blue sky days. We put telephone poles in and run wires. When the weather turns nasty, when you see those convoys of bucket trucks that are heading for Florida because there's a hurricane, well, that's us.
Yes.
Well, that means I also have diesel mechanics that have to maintain my trucks. Finding diesel mechanics.
Hold on. Do you hire the diesel mechanics for your company, or do you go out?
We do.
Oh, you actually hire them. So you don't go to another company. Okay.
We do. We actually, so funny story, back probably about 12 years ago, we had such trouble finding a qualified resource to fix the bucket trucks. And that's, meaning the lift, the hydraulic boom portion of the lifts. Mm-hmm. We gave up on trying to find a good company to service them. And we hired one of the union, had a mechanic who was available, and he was, we made a big investment, and we brought him in a shop. And then, I said, well, you know what? If we're going to fix our trucks, maybe we should fix other people's trucks too. So I have another company I own called Northeast Utility Equipment Repair, and I brought a partner in a few years ago. We've been in business for 10 years, and we fix bucket trucks for all the other municipalities, other contractors, pretty much tree companies. So, that's another niche we're in. And we have, again, diesel mechanics to fix our trucks, and our mechanics that do the hydraulic work. So, again, something else that, we hire for, something else that's really hard to get. You go to the trade schools and say, hey, I want to hire a diesel mechanic out of school, and the class is spoken for already.
Wow.
Maybe the next. Yeah.
So they're all hired before you even finish.
Yeah, they are. These kids are all getting jobs before they graduate.
Wow. It's such a niche market because there's such a demand.
Oh yeah, diesel mechanics are an entity that's a big. The retirement age is coming up quickly for the people in that trade, and we're losing a lot of resources, and we can't replenish them fast enough. So,
wow. So that's a good profession for any young people for young people listening right now. Diesel mechanics, I'm sure, are now paid at a premium if they're getting hired like that. That is amazing. Speaking of being hired, one of the things I'm doing with my platform, so I have a Skill Stadium job platform, and one of the things I'm trying to get to push is people using video. So like a job seeker doing like a 30-second elevator pitch, and then maybe a 60-second video showing that they could do the work. Because I believe we have a show me economy. And I know for myself, I've hired people who said, oh, I could do the technical work, and they can't. And we all hate those surprises. What's your take on people using video to showcase their skills and talent so that you can kind of pre-qualify them to know that this is somebody that you want to bring in that might fit in the culture of your company?
Well, I think it's a good idea, because I think a lot of our younger, or I'm not going to say younger in the terms of entry level, but maybe you're, in the early years in the trades, you probably aren't well versed in writing a resume, or don't have a lot to show on your resume, but it's really easy for you to turn around and go, here's what I did today in work, and this is my work, and this is, what I'm doing and what I'm working on, and, and do that video introduction, and, be able to do it that way. So I don't see it as a horrible thing. I know Steve, I believe at Bring Back the Trade, said that one of the things they tried to do is get the kids to write an essay on, why they wanted to be in the trades. And then he amended that to say, all right, upload a video and tell me why you want to do this. Which, okay, great. Listen, it's a good medium. It's no problem. And again, look, we're not hiring you to be a copywriter. We're hiring you to work in the trade. So if you can convey to us in an easy manner, what it is you want to do, and you can use video to do it, and you can sound intelligent and show us, that you have a passion and a desire for something, I think you're going to get responses from employers, whether that be myself or someone else.
No, that's good to know. I just feel like there's a need for people to, people can write anything on paper. And I just hate when people can't back up what they're saying.
Yeah.
I
Well,
did this. And then when it comes time to you talk to them and in 5 minutes, oh, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. Or they don't know what they're
yeah.
doing. But a video, it's hard to fake it.
Right. Right. Yeah. I get resumes from recruiters, and I laugh and I go, "Oh, this is version 6." And they go, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I've got versions, 3, 4, and 5 from the last time they applied for jobs, and they've got all the skips and all the people that who fired them. They omitted out, made it look like they worked for these other people longer." And they're like, "What are you talking about?" I'll show you. Here's their resume from last time. Here's all the other places they've worked. Oh, I had no idea. But we
Please.
don't work with recruiters.
Yeah. Speaking of employees, one of the things that really impressed me is that you've had employees who've worked there for 25 years,
Yeah,
which I think is
travel.
remarkable. What have you done different? Because most companies don't have that.
Well, most of the companies that have been around as long as I have do have that to some level. I mean, look, there's we're a union shop, so I look at your workforce as being in two unique groups. You have your basic workforce, your key personnel. These are the people that you keep busy all year round. When it's slow, yeah, sometimes you overstaff jobs and you spend money that other people would say, nope, just lay off and we'll hire again and roll the dice. We don't do that. By the same token, with some of our key personnel in supervision roles, we've said to people, okay, listen, let's dangle the carrot and let's offer some incentive. I always thought my thought of being in business was along the lines of being in business. When you work for somebody and me as an owner gives them the opportunity to feel like they're in business for themselves, but not by themselves. Meaning saying, look, here's what the expectation is a day. We want you to, and I'll make it something very simple. We want you to do X amount of fixtures a day. And if you do more than that, well, we'd offer you X amount of dollars. And then again, that might be an incentive offered to field crews. It may be an incentive offered to supervision. Again, it's going to, every situation, every job, all these things are different. But if you look at people and you number one, do the right thing, treat them the right way, give them a good salary, a good package of compensation, work with them to give them what they need personally. And again, it's twofold. You've got our field employees, you've got your office employees. A lot of our office employees worked in the field. I would say of our key project management and estimating personnel, everybody here has worked in the field with the tools and has come up out of the field. So they know what it is to have a pair of pliers in their hand. They understand how much time it takes to do something. So we value that and we try to compensate accordingly. And, again, not everybody is going to have the same compensation package. You look at people, you tailor things to their needs, and you treat people like human beings. You do the right thing. And I believe it comes back to you. You create an environment people want to be part of. So I think if you create a culture that people want to be part of, it's not really hard to do. Again, the younger generation, the millennial workforce, have been bamboozled. And again, I think it's been by the recruiter. The recruiter is an animal that I'm not a big fan of because I feel like they're poachers, right?
Sure.
And what they do is, okay, well, I got to take somebody, steal them from an employer, place them somewhere else. I'm going to keep them there at least a year because I want to make sure I get my commission. I don't have to give anything back. And then after about a year and a half, I lie to them and say, oh, I just thought about you today. I have a job that's so perfect. Somebody was asking about you. They were asking about me. And I laugh because, all of their pitches are so boilerplate. And most of these recruiters are so bad. It's I had one guy sitting in an office one day next to me and said, come in my office. What? I said, next time you go to a recruiter, you should make sure they don't email your resume to your present employer. What? What are you talking about? I said, well, here's your resume. It just popped up on my desk. So you should probably work with better recruiters if you're unhappy. Oh, I don't know how that happened. Oh, okay. Oh, sure. Okay, sure you don't. So it's kind of funny story, but I think that we've created industries that just by nature disenfranchise employees by convincing them that the only way they're going to make more money is to go somewhere else and quit their job. We hear all this bit about the great resignation, and I'm like, okay, so you resigned. Well, if you resign from a job, you're not eligible for unemployment. So did you resign or did you get another job?
Mm-hmm.
There was almost, we went through this point where it was almost like, it was like the cool thing to do. I'm going to quit my job. Okay, so you have no income, no health benefits. What are you going to do now? And I just couldn't understand that. I still can't understand that.
I don't know. I don't get that either. And I'll tell you, this market that people are in is small. People know each other. It doesn't take long for people to figure out, oh, I know so-and-so. And employees don't realize a lot of business owners know each other. And
sure.
It's you're rolling the dice. You're rolling the dice. I mean, because they know if you did that, if they did that to you, they'll do it to that. Like you've got to believe that.
Right. I mean, I tell people that you get a resume from somebody, instantly they belong to one of two groups. Either A, they're key personnel, or B, they're disposable workforce. Somebody says,
yes.
Oh, that's horrible to call someone that. No, it's
reality.
It's not, because they've created that culture to themselves. When you get a resume of somebody, you go, oh, he worked here for 6 years, worked over at this place for like 5 years. Oh, wow, he's got a good, there's some stability here.
Sure.
Then you get the resume of the guy, well, I worked here for a year, worked there for 6 months, worked here for 6 months, worked here for 18 months.
Yeah, you know what you're dealing with.
Okay, so that tells me one of two things. Either A, you were fired, or B, you like to job hop. Either way, you're not a valuable commodity. So somebody's going to hire you when they have an immediate need, and they're going to dispose of you when they don't.
It's true.
And, people just don't seem to get that. But, look, like I said to you, we're not really affected by that. We have a lot of stability here, very low turnover. People come and they want to work here, they want to stay here, and I'm proud of that. I think it's a great thing, but I don't see a lot of it in the industry in general. But I see it amongst look, successful companies have their key personnel and people who stay there. So little advice to people: if you're working for a decent company, communicate to the owner. Tell them that maybe you don't feel like you're being adequately compensated. If you think that's true, have a conversation. You know what? Somebody who's probably going to be more interested in sitting down, talking to you, and finding out what they can do to keep you happy if you're really key personnel.
Yeah.
But,
most problems can be resolved with communication, no matter what you're doing. Yeah. So, speaking of hiring, are you guys hiring? Do you want to?
I'll certainly take any resumes from diesel mechanics or anybody at bucket truck mechanics. But on top of that, we do have a unique opportunity now where we're able to present resumes to the union as we're trying to bring in, do a recruitment and bring in some people that are at a certain level in their career where they may want to come into a union setting and they value the health benefits and the pension.
Do they have to be union to apply, or can they be non-union?
We're allowed to kind of take those. We're right now we're taking those resumes and we're allowed to kind of vet them on our own here, and then we're presenting them to the union for their evaluation. They'll do some testing and see if they really test at the level where they say they're going to be. So, and we have the opportunity to say we have need for this, and this. They may very well get placed with us. There's no guarantees, but by the same token, if we have a call in for 3 of a certain type of electrician, and we present resumes for 3 of those electricians, and there's probably a good chance that we're going to see those. But but it's certainly not a bad time to be looking into it. We're very involved in the renewable markets here. Solar is very big. Battery storage is something that you're going to start hearing a lot about. And basically,
tell me about that battery storage.
Well, you're talking about megawatts of battery potential that is stored Basically, you charge them at night or during the day with solar panels, and then you keep that energy to the peak demand time. So let's say it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a sweaty July day, and everybody's got their air conditioners cranking. They discharge those batteries. That's the most expensive electricity
That's true.
that you can sell. So people are basically storing electricity and selling it when it's most expensive, and they're going up everywhere like wildfire. We've got a lot of these in development right now. We've been very involved. We built the first one in New York State probably about 6 years ago for Lockheed Martin when they jumped into the battery market, and they're just exploding everywhere. Tesla makes a big product called a mega pack, which is looks like basically a shipping container filled with batteries, and they can hold a tremendous amount of electricity in these things, and they're building farms where you kind of stack these things up like Legos, and we're able to store that cheap electricity and sell it when it's expensive. So it's kind of a supply and demand thing.
That's another niche.
It's big
Another
stuff.
niche.
Yep.
Yeah.
Niches. That's it.
Yeah. Well, hey, Doug, we're going to wrap up. Please share how people can find you.
Well, if anybody has a resume they want us to look at, we're more than happy to take a peek. You can shoot an email to me personally, Doug@dmelectrical.com.
Okay. Doug@dmelectrical.com. Also, we will share your website, and if you have any social media, we'll put that in the notes for the podcast. Doug, thank you so much for being a guest on the Skill Stadium podcast. I wish you continued success, and let's definitely stay in touch.
Will do. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you
for having me.
Definitely.